about getting started and getting back on the field with our players again, and you know, also the new coaches. That's something I'm looking forward to. You know, being in that type of environment for the first time. We've been locked up in meeting rooms, and we've been out in off-season conditioning type of drills and things like that. But really not being able to coach on the field. So this is a day I've been looking forward to, and it's been a long off season, and so I'm anxious to kind of get going today. And this is a fresh start. It's a fresh start. It's a new beginning for this staff and the players that are currently here on the team. And you know, I'm always looking for encouragement. I love to read and things like that. And one of the quotes I came across in the off season that really encouraged me was from Henry Ford, who was obviously one of the most successful Americans we probably ever had. But he also had a lot of failure. And you know, he has a famous quote that says, "Failure is nothing more than an opportunity to begin again more intelligently." And you know, I love that, and that's encouraging to me. And that's what this staff is going to do this spring. We're going to begin again, this team, and you know, we've had a good off season of self-evaluation and doing things that we think we've got to do to get better as a team and program. And you know, I'm just excited to actually get out there and get started today. You know, we got probably a little more than a third of our football team that's not out there with us, that won't be here till fall camp. You know, you got 29 signees and Andre Ellington and Daniel Andrews. So you've got that's 31 guys right there potentially that won't be back until fall camp. So that's a lot of guys, so obviously we're going to be far from a completed team until we get through summer camp and all that stuff. But we got a lot to do. We got a lot of guys that have not played. We, as y'all know, redshirted just about everybody last year. A couple of young guys that played but didn't maybe play a whole lot. Nuke really is the only one that played significant amount of time. So we got a lot of young guys that are going to get a benefit from these 15 days. And I think probably the most important thing is to maximize each day. We absolutely got to get the most out of all 15 days, and that just starts with going back to the basics. You know, the very basics, core fundamentals, core techniques, offense, defense, special teams, and each position, and just making sure that we you know, just add to that foundation that we've been working with the guys that have been in place. But those new guys, really get them in position to be able to help us, because a lot of these guys that haven't played a snap, that are going to go through spring, a lot of them will have to play significant roles for us. So we got to make sure that we build a good foundation with those young guys and make sure they got the basics down. But injury-wise, we're in pretty good shape. Daniel Andrews is out and is really responding well to his knee surgery. He's ahead of schedule, and he's running and doing a good job, but he cannot participate in spring. And then Andre Ellington is doing very well. I know y'all probably would ask me about him, but he's actually going to be released to start running on Monday. So we're excited about that, and I know he is too. He's anxious to start picking them up and putting them down again. He won't be doing any cutting, but now they're going to cut him loose to go ahead and start doing straight ahead running. So that's a big next step for him. You know, his injury obviously is different than, say, an ACL. You know, you immediately, I mean, it's intensive rehab right away. And, you know, but with Andre's injury, it had to just kind of sit there for a while, like a broken bone almost, to heal. And then you start the process of rehabbing. So he's going to start running Monday, and again, doing very well. A lot of things we want to accomplish this spring. But some of the key things to me as we get going, special teams wise, first of all, we got to redevelop our battery, snapper, holder, kicker. We've got to you know, start over there, because we're obviously losing Mike Wade. He's been a pretty solid guy for us the last couple of years. I am encouraged with Fagenbaum. He did come in as a freshman last year and finished up the season, and in fact I thought was a you know, a stabilizing factor in our field goal kicking. We hit 6 out of our last 7 field goals, so he snapped all of those, and so that's encouraging. He has some game experience. It's not like he snapped at Florida State. I mean, he has some game experience, so you know, I'm encouraged by what I saw, but obviously he's got to continue to improve, and then we've got to figure out who the holder's going to be. We got a lot of candidates. Dawson Zimmerman, Spencer and Catanzaro have been holding for each other. Donnie McElveen's a guy that has done some holding for us, but that's an important, you know, part of the operation. So you got to make sure. I mean, sometimes you take those things for granted, especially when you got a guy like Mike Wade, and then kicker. You know, I hope that we can really come out of this spring with some confidence in our kicker. Obviously that's an area we've got to become more consistent. And then I think another key thing for us, and again I go back to Mike Wade, you don't realize how valuable a guy is until he's gone, but our personal protector on punt team. You know, I mean, that is a critical position, you know, in the game. The personal protector makes all the calls, he sets the calls, he sets the slides. I mean, you know, he identifies the fronts, and you got to have a guy that's on his game at that personal protective position. So we've got several guys we want to look at, but you know, that's an area. And then who's the backup punter? You know, Richard Jackson has been the backup punter the last couple of years around here, and Spencer Benton will be the guy that's going to get the first shot at it. And obviously we've got Ammon Lacob coming in. He's probably a little bit more of a kicker, but we've got to get some answers there, backup punter. And then I think special teams wise, when you got this many guys that have not played, red-shirted guys, you know, linebackers, running backs, DBs, receivers, tight end, those type of bodies, those are special teams type bodies. And we got to find out, you know, how many of those guys can be a part of our core special teams guys. And then it's important for Coach Pierman to try to teach his drill techniques and get them to understand some different things we're going to do schematically, special teams wise. Defensively, we got some personnel issues we got to resolve, and part of that is just us learning about our young players. On the defensive side of the ball, we got several young DBs, and I know Darius and Martin played last year, but we still, I think, have got some learning to do with them, and then all those young guys, Peters and Breland and Desmond Brown, those guys that they're ready to go, ready to play. They've had a great off season as far as power hour and getting strong and changing their bodies and all that, but we've got to figure out what the best combination of those guys is. And then same thing about the guys up front. You know, Josh Watson's a guy we're really excited about because, you know, the way he's just completely transformed his body and his work ethic, and he's had a great year. Trey Thomas, you know, we'll find out about him. Corey Crawford's here. You know, those are guys. Tavares Barnes. You know, I mean, we got a bunch of bodies. What's the best combination of the bodies up front? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to find out. Do we move a guy? Do we have him in the right place? Courtney Brown, to me, is a guy that is, you know, really challenged Coach Hobby about, to try to get him to be a better player and hopefully become what we think he can be this spring. Tackling and turnovers is always an emphasis for us every day, but in particular this spring. And one of the things when we talk about turnovers, you know, as we've self-evaluated and I've studied everything on our defense, you know, we were either really good or pretty good at just about everything defensively, but we were terrible at getting fumbles. I mean, I think we were 106th in the nation at actually, you know, getting the fumbles, and that just, I mean, it just was startling to me when I really started studying all of our breakdowns. And you go back and look at it, it's not because we didn't get the ball out. We got the ball out quite a bit. We just didn't get it. We didn't recover. And so, you know, that's something that we talked about as a staff. And there's a couple of new, not necessarily new, but a couple of schematic things that we might emphasize a little bit more this spring defensively than maybe we did during the course of the season. Some things that we did a little bit that we liked. So those are a couple things that we'll look at, and then hopefully learn from our mistakes. Those guys that played, we have real data. We have real data that we've studied for weeks now to learn from, and where we made mistakes in ball games and things, and so that's part of spring ball. And then defensively, for me, I felt like we had a lot of issues or penalties that I thought were just a result of not being disciplined with our technique. And so just emphasizing technique discipline. All the time, when you're tired, at the beginning of the game, after a big, whatever. Just let's be technically disciplined, and I think we can eliminate some penalties that we had last year, and then trying to develop leaders. I do like the leadership of this team. In fact, met with the seniors today, and those guys have voted on a couple of juniors and a couple of sophomores that are going to join that leadership room with us. But I really like the leaders on this team. I think we're off to a great start there. But I want to develop more leaders, because I think when it's all even, that can make the difference out there. And offensively, obviously we're installing a new system, and that's the number one objective this spring, is to try to get that taught, the basic principles and fundamentals of what we're trying to do. And I think another important thing for us offensively as we go through the spring is take advantage and really do a good job of creating some very good teach videos, because we're going to have a lot of young guys that are going to be, offensively in particular, that are going to be coming in here this summer, and we can't coach them in the summer and meet with them, so we need to really have some good teach videos prepared from spring ball that they can take advantage of and hopefully get up to speed. But same thing as the defense, I think we got a lot to learn about some of our young players that are here. We redshirted 4 offensive linemen. We really like those guys. We like how they've worked. But we got to go see how they'll transfer things from the meeting room to the practice field and start coaching. Coach Caldwell doesn't know a whole lot about anybody, so we got a lot to learn, in particular about the young guys. And then Sam Cooper, we redshirted him at tight end, and I'm excited about Sam Cooper. He has been incredibly impressive in the off season. He's been great in the weight room. He's worked his tail off. He's been one of our best guys in our conditioning sessions, and has shown a lot of leadership. So he's a guy that I'm anxious to see this spring. Joe Craig. Joe Craig is, one of the things, like I told Chad, when we come out of this spring, we got to have some answers on Joe Craig. We got to understand how we can use him the best, because he is, I think, going to be a real weapon for us. He's got a long way to go, but he's got 4 years left, and he can flat out fly. He plays fast. He's tough. He's got great hands, which is something we really didn't know a lot about him. He's got natural hands. He's fast like Jacoby, but he's extremely quick, and he's got a little bit of length to him, like Stuckey did. And he's got that same quickness in and out of those cuts. So he's an interesting guy that I think has a lot of potential, and we need to really find out a lot about him this spring. And he's certainly going to get a lot of opportunity. We'll have a lot of bodies out there. And then we got 3 running backs that are all question marks. So they got 15 days to have the stage. This fall, things are, obviously we're going to get Andre Ellington back. We're going to get Mike Bellamy in here. And so these 3 guys, what an opportunity they got. They've got 15 days to make themselves relevant, to say, hey, I know Andre's coming back, and I know we got maybe a highly recruited guy, but don't forget about me. And so that comes through how they prepare, how they practice, and I'm excited because they've worked their tail off. Rod, Vice, and DJ have worked their tail off in the off season, and they've prepared physically in the weight room. They've been studying film, so this is a big opportunity for those 3 guys to show what they can do. So it's going to be fun to watch those battles. Other thing offensively is to try to keep developing toughness. That's something we've worked hard on for 2 years, and we've made a lot of progress. Certainly can keep getting better there. What's our best left tackle option? You know, who is it? We got a lot of, the good thing is we do have some options. You know, we'll go into spring starting out with Price and BT, Brandon Thomas at left tackle. We'll let them compete and battle it out, but we have other options. You know, if somebody else emerges, you know, inside, we have the option of moving David out. I mean, there's things there that could happen. So, you know, but I think we're starting at the right spot. But we gotta make sure that we feel good about the left tackle position coming out of spring. And then same thing as the defense, trying to develop leadership. I think we got outstanding guys, senior leadership on the offensive side of the ball. But one of the things I want to see, I'm really hoping to see Taj really assert himself as a leader on offense. And he's done all the right things in the off season. And so, but I'm anxious to see him on the field, you know, be that guy. And just like you know, who's going to fill some of those spots on defense, we've got to find out who the backup quarterback is. You know, if you ask me what I guess right now, if I just had my major concern is, I would say, who's our backup quarterback? You know, I think we're going to have some good answers in all the spots, but you know, the quarterback, that's I mean, you know, you better have a guy at quarterback, and whoever the backup is, it's going to be a true freshman. So I'm anxious to see those guys, and we've got, you know, I'm very thankful that we've got them here to go through spring and all of summer. So hopefully by the time camp rolls around, it's almost like they're a redshirt freshman instead of a true freshman. And I'm really excited about Tony and Cole. They've done a great job in the off season. They've just kind of jumped right in. They fit in well. They're tough guys that have worked extremely hard. But I just, you know, that's obviously a concern. I mean, that's, you know, we don't have anybody with any experience there other than Todd. So, and then the other thing I would say, and we've talked a lot about this as a staff, and that is, you know, this is where we start the process of really developing the confidence, the swagger that I think you got to have to go win and win at a high level. And that's what we expect to do. We expect to win at a high level. I believe this football team can be very good. You know, we've got a challenging schedule, but you know, that's exciting to me. Looking forward to it. And again, we'll know a little bit more after 15 days, but today's just the beginning. With that, I'll take some questions.
You're probably excited, obviously, to see Chad roll out the offense, get it implemented. He noted yesterday he's going full steam ahead. Are you also maybe thinking, though, there's got to be that fine line of making sure the guys get it as they go along and that kind of thing?
Yeah, we're not going to just we're not going to just stick a fire hose in their mouth. I mean, we're going to install it at a pace they can get. Again, we got over a third of the team that's not even here, so we're going to try to make sure that they get the basic foundation and core fundamentals to the system. You know, there's a lot of carryover, but then there's a lot of things that are just completely different that everybody's just got to learn. And you know, it's just a new way of calling it. There's going to be a few things different at practice that the guys are going to have to get adjusted to. So, but the guys have done a great job. You know, when we've been able to have our meetings and stuff. I mean, I think that they've prepared very well for these first couple of practices. So, you know, we'll see where they are, you know, Wednesday when we start getting, you know, a few days. But it's a little different than camp because you don't practice every day, and so you don't quite get that type of overload. You hopefully will have a chance to process it. We'll come in tonight after practice and we'll grade the film. We'll watch it as a staff and prepare for our meetings the next day and get them ready for Monday. And then they already have the installation for today. They've had that. They have the installation for Monday. They have this, and so they've had a chance to kind of prepare. And those guys that it's really important to, they've done some work. They've prepared. Those guys that just getting what's required when they're here, they'll fall behind, and that's part of separating yourself from the rest.
Coach Morris said he got an inkling who the backup quarterback might be. Do you share his sentiment?
You know, I think that we have grown some confidence based on what we've seen in the offseason, just based on how the guys have worked competitively. But, you know, again, until we get out there and we start practicing, it's just going to be hard to say. And it's going to be a day-to-day deal. And I don't think we'll know that after spring ball. I mean, we might, but most likely it's one of those deals because these are competitors, so they're going to come out, whoever it is, they're going to come out of spring working their tails off, and they're going to have some weaknesses, and they're going to have some mistakes that they're going to have to go learn from, and then they're going to work their butts off in the summer and come back to fall camp. Well, you know, is one guy going to be complacent? Is the other guy going to work hard? I mean, those are a lot of things that are just unknown right now. We don't know a lot about them, other than, you know, how they work in the offseason. But I would say, based on what we've seen, yeah, there's probably, you know, a little separation just in watching them on conditioning drills. But, you know, that ain't playing quarterback.
And the walk-ons are not in this mix.
Well, everybody's in the mix.
But you said it's going to be a true freshman.
I would be surprised if it's not. But, you know, everybody has a chance and everybody will get an opportunity to be looked at. But, you know, I think from a talent standpoint, you know, it most likely is going to be a true freshman.
What's the most important thing you feel like you have to accomplish for this offense by the time you finish spring practice up in it?
Just a real basic understanding of our concepts. You know, I mean, there's a bunch of carryover for our linemen, which is a good thing. The zone, the power, you know, the way we're going to run the talk, all that stuff is great carryover. Several of the protections are the same, but the biggest thing is just, you know, all the other moving parts. There's a lot of different moving parts, some motions and formations, but some unique formations, a little unorthodox maybe compared to some of the things that how we've done certain things in the past. You know, so I think the biggest thing is just that everybody understanding, being on the same page with the basic concepts in the running game and passing game, and be able to go to the summer with a better picture in their mind of what we're going to look like.
Fans I've talked to have said they're pretty excited to see this wide open offense sort of start to take shape. How excited are you to see something like this? I guess in its infancy.
Well, it's great. I mean, I think it fits our personnel that's here, and I think it fits our personnel that's coming. I think we've got a great quarterback prospect in Taj Boyd that's going to be a weapon, and he's going to be involved. You know, people are going to have to defend him. You know, they're going to have to defend Taj or whoever is in there. But he's going to be a factor when we play every single week, and I think that is, you know, something that we really haven't done a good job with. And I think this is a great new beginning, and you know, we got a lot of work to do, and that's all it is a beginning. Yeah, I'm jacked up. I'm ready to get out there and go to work.
You spoke about their running backs in 15 days to kind of prove that they could be relevant. What about receivers like Bryce McNeil and maybe Craig?
Freshman, you know, I think that, again, we don't have a lot of guys out there. Marquand is our only senior, and I think you know, there's not a better kid on the team, and that guy has been relentless with a capital R in this offseason. I'm really proud of how he's worked. We feel like we know a lot about him. Jerron Brown has worked his tail off, and he showed last year that he could be a real playmaker. He took advantage of his opportunities that he had, and it's a big spring for Bryce. There's no doubt about it. You know, Bryce is a guy that's just got to make up his mind he wants to be great. That's it. And he's got it. You know, Bryce he's got it all. It's just a matter of him deciding he wants to be great. Because, you know, to be great, you gotta you know, be sold out and committed, and show up every single day, you know, with your lunch pail. And you know, his freshman year, and he's a freshman. You know, he had some inconsistency as far as just, I think, how he prepared mentally and physically to be great. But Bryce he is a very, very talented wide receiver. And again, I think this spring, hopefully, he can emerge and take another step solidifying his role. But, you know, that's the decision he's got to make. And then Joe Craig, as I said earlier, now I've seen him probably more than anybody because I'll go over and watch him on the scout offense versus our defense. And and then you listen to our defensive coaches. I mean, the guy can play the game. He's really worked hard. He still ain't big as a minute, but he's put on some weight, and he's not a finished product. But he can really, I think, help us win games next year in a big way. But when I think about him, you know, I think about 2 years from now. That's what I see. This kid has got a chance, I think, to be, you know, a really special guy. He can flat out run. He's just, as he gets stronger, he's even going to get faster as he develops his lower body, and that's where he's got to improve, is his lower body. But he's excited about getting out there and seeing what kind of opportunity he has. But he's a guy that, from a staff standpoint, we feel like, hey, when we come out of spring, we need to know how this guy can be involved. Maybe it's not the whole package. Maybe it's a niche for him. You know, those are things that we got to see. But I really believe he'll be a factor for us.
As he said, as Chad said yesterday, a guy like Joe could be a hybrid, maybe line up as a running back, and whatever.
Right.
But almost out of this spring, as you get the offense on film and continue to evaluate, do you maybe hope that you can learn that this offense can produce a lot of guys like that because you have some diverse players in Ellington and so forth?
Oh yeah, yeah, and this offense gives you that opportunity. There's a lot of flexibility. You know, a lot of guys can be involved. It really just depends on the personnel. I mean, you know, Chad, for example, he went to Tulsa last year, and he had what he had, you know, and he took that personnel. And one of the positives with Chad is he just went through this. You know, I mean, he just did this as far as having to install, you know, start fresh, go through a new spring, learn everybody, you know, take kind of what he has, okay, what's coming in a signing class, project, and all that stuff, and so he's got a good feel for what he's doing, and but there's a lot of versatility where you can involve guys. It's just a matter of us getting them in the right spot, and then we can use them however we want, you know. And then right now this spring, again, we just don't have all of our personnel in place offensively. We're limited as far as what we'll look like when we get ready to play in September. So.
How will Nuke's schedule be divided with basketball?
He's all football. He won't miss any football. You know, he'll be at the basketball game tomorrow. I mean, he'll double dip, but he won't miss any football practice. So when they go, I think tomorrow he'll be at their game. We don't practice tomorrow, so there's no conflict. And then I guess they leave. Maybe Wednesday for the Wednesday or Thursday for the ACC tournament. But he'll be here. He's got to take care of his main responsibility, and that's football. He's fired up about that. He knows that. He's enjoyed basketball. He really has. He feels like he's learned a lot. He feels like he's grown, and Coach Brownell has been encouraging to him, and that you know, next year he may have an opportunity to get some significant playing time, you know, as he continues to learn. But those are things we'll worry about later. But you know, he's back to work. Looks good. And you know, anxious to see him out there.
Same with Craig.
Craig,
yeah.
Yeah, he's all football. He's all football.
What has your transformation been like? Because you're an offensive guy and adjusting to Coach Morris's scheme, and will you be learning as much as the players will be at times on the field?
Well, the biggest thing is that there's really, with the exception of a couple of things, it's really, you know, if you've been in this business long enough, you've seen a lot of things. And schematically, there's a few different things on how he goes about it that's a little unorthodox, I would say, from kind of about my background. But not a lot of things that are just completely new. The biggest thing is the way you call stuff. I mean, it's totally different. So you got to do some deprogramming and learn new formations, new terminology. You know, I look at something, we can sit in there and watch film together, and my mind is speaking English, and his mind is speaking Spanish. We're saying the same thing, but we're not speaking the same. You know, so that's just you gotta. So what we've done is, as we went through the off season, is things that fit that we could keep we were able to keep. And that was one of the main reasons in the interview process, I was really excited about Chad too. As we went through the system, there was so much carryover, you know, as far as just system type stuff and how he called runs, how he called pass concepts. You know, because there's a lot of really, I mean, there's just a million different ways to skin the cat. And you know, I've been in college football since 1988, and I think I've worked with 10 or 11 different coordinators now that I've been around. And I mean, everybody has different ways of saying, you know, you call this, some people will call this an underfront, other people gonna call it a 54 front, other people, you know, this is a slide front, no, it's an over front. I mean, it just is on, so you got to get on the same page, and that's probably been the biggest thing, and it's been good. And then the flip side of that is, you know, really just Danny and Jeff, you know, being in there. You know, the other guys were learning it fresh, so it wasn't like they were deprogramming from an old system. But our players, it's been good, because again, there's been a lot of carryover. And for me personally, it's just the terminology, the formations, different way of doing things, because there's some different formations and different alignments. You know, for example, where the backs may line up. You know, some rules with the quarterback, some motions, types of motions, and how you involve those things. That's the biggest difference for me. And but as far as the plays, you know, it's stuff that, you know, I've either done or been around.
Coach, you talked at the beginning, the Henry Ford quote about failure.
Yep.
Does that mean you consider last season to be a failure? And the end of his quote says, you know, the chance to do it more intelligently. If last season was a failure, then, you know, what are the top 2 or 3 things that you're doing more intelligently?
Well, I think, first of all, absolutely, I consider last season a failure. We didn't work our tails off last spring and summer and fall camp to be, you know, six-win football team. That's not what I'm about. And but again, I don't like it. I hate it. It's frustrating. But you know, all I can say is I've always grown the most from tough times. That's when I've grown the most. And I don't think it's any different in this case right here. You know, it's easy. It's easy at my first year. You know, when you know, coach of the year guy, candidate, and you win your first division, you play for the championship, you win your bowl game. You know, it's pretty easy to lead. It's a little different when you face some of the troubles that we've had over this year, in the second year. But I'm just a little more seasoned. And you know, that's the thing that I would say as far as more intelligently. I think that, you know, as we start this new beginning, I feel like that I'm at a place right now where maybe I wish I could have been 2 years ago. But you know, it is what it is, and played the hand that was dealt me. But right now, I feel very comfortable. And then when I walk in that staff room, I've hired everybody in there. And, you know, everybody, we're all, not that we weren't on the same page, but everybody is really engaged, and I think we're all pointing in the right direction. And we've just done a great job of you know, doing a lot of self-evaluation. And my job, as I look at it, and I know some of y'all are, you know, mad at me because there's Tim talked about a new media policy, and I know y'all are, you know, and I'd probably be mad too if I was sitting in your seat, but you know, I have to just do things from my perspective and my seat, and my job is to win football games, and my job is to graduate players, and all I'm trying to do is do my job better. I'm trying to do my job better and help my coaches do their job better, and that's really it. It's just that simple. You know, I'm not perfect. I'm human, like all of y'all are, and I make mistakes and I screw up. But I try to learn from them, and I try to grow. And you know, I want to be at Clemson a long time. You know, I'm not here for the short term. You know, I'm here for the long term, and I understand what you have to do to get the long-term results that you want. And I'm patient. And I have a lot of perseverance and willpower, and, you know, I just, you know, again, look back and I know we're going to be better because of 2010. But eyes are forward. 2011 is going to be a great year, and I fully expect us to be a very good football team. And that's what my expectation is. That's what our team is, and I think that this football team is going to have a real bunker mentality, and they're ready to go to work today.
What's Ellington's timeline beyond Monday?
He's, you know, again, some of that will depend on how he's going to start running, but some of that I think will depend on just how he does. You know, we don't really know how he's going to respond to that next step in his recovery process. Hopefully that goes very well starting Monday, and his toe responds well, and then they can kind of maybe lay out there. I'm sure the doctor has you know, Dr. Anderson has a good feel for that, because he's done this many times, but I think, again, it depends on, you know, how he responds, but this is the next step come Monday. And so maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll have a little bit different, more information on him as far as, okay, here's where he is, boy, we're really excited about how he looked, you know, all that kind of stuff, and because this is the first time he's going to have weight-bearing pressure on him. And he's been underwater in the treadmill and all that, but that's totally different.
Do you have everybody back that you expected to have back for spring? Is anybody left, like a Brandon May we found out in January?
Yeah, everybody's back. The only one is Spencer Adams. Not his status is still up there. He's a track, you know, but his status is still up in there.
You said Taj has
Try.
been doing,
What's that?
you said Taj has been doing all the right things this
Yeah.
offseason. What are some of the things you've seen him, as far as related to ownership of the position?
Right. Well, he's like the paint on the walls. He's here all the time. He's hanging around. I mean, he's watching film. He's been over here. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, you know, he'll be walking out of here by himself, or he'll be sitting there watching film, or he's just, you know, around. I mean, he's just around. You know,